What if everything you thought about your family was a lie? Mark Reynolds was a devoted father, a faithful husband, and a man who believed he knew his children better than anyone else. But what if only one of those kids shared his blood? It started with a routine hospital visit, a simple blood transfusion after a construction accident that should have been ordinary, until a nurse's hesitation sparked a secret Mark wasn't prepared to face. In the quiet suburb of Westerville, Ohio, Mark's perfect life was about to shatter. For kids, for smiles, for futures. But only one was truly his. What would you do if you found out your entire family was built on a lie? Would you confront the truth? Or bury it deep where it can't hurt you? Mark didn't have that luxury. Within days, he was forced to face a devastating revelation, one that would tear his marriage apart and lead him down a path no father ever wants to walk. And the truth he uncovered was only the beginning. Mark Reynolds had spent most of his adult life building, not just walls and homes on his construction sites, but a family he was proud of. He and Elaine met fresh out of college, young and hopeful. Together, they dreamed of a quiet life, far from the chaos of the city. They settled in Westerville, a community where kids played outside until the streetlights flickered on, where neighbors shared more than just fences. They shared lives. By 2008, they had 4 children, Josh, the eldest at 15, then Megan, Lily, and Ethan. Mark was a hands-on dad, coaching Little League, helping with science projects, driving the kids to friend houses. Elaine was a steady heartbeat of their home, organizing events, volunteering at the church, and making sure the house smelled like fresh-baked cookies every weekend. From the outside, the Reynolds family was what you'd call perfect. But behind closed doors, Mark's heart carried a quiet storm. It wasn't something he wanted to admit even to himself. There had always been this nagging question. Why did only Josh seem to carry his features? The sharpness of his eyes, the shape of his nose, even the way he frowned when concentrating. Mark recognized himself in Josh. But Megan's delicate smile, Lily's bright blonde curls, and Ethan's softer laugh, they all felt like strangers to him. Sometimes he caught Elaine looking uncomfortable when relatives made offhand comments about the kids' appearances. "It's the genes from my side," she'd say, quickly. "Maybe your brother's side?" Mark would guess, try and stay calm. Still, the doubt lingered like a shadow over every family gathering. Mark buried these feelings deep because to question your own children felt wrong. It felt like betrayal. Then came the accident. It was a routine day on a construction site when Mark lost his footing on scaffolding. The fall knocked the wind out of him, cracked ribs, and left him unconscious on the cold concrete below. Paramedics arrived swiftly, and Mark was rushed to the emergency room. Blood transfusion was necessary. It was during the procedure that a nurse, reviewing his chart, paused. Something was off. His blood type didn't match what should have been expected considering his family's medical history. A doctor later spoke to Mark quietly. "Mr. Reynolds, sometimes blood types can reveal unexpected family relationships. It's uncommon, but it happens." Mark's mind froze. What did that mean? When he got home, the doctor's words haunted him. Unable to shake the suspicion, Mark ordered a DNA test. Just for him and Josh. Something innocent to start. When the results arrived, Mark held the envelope in trembling hands, unsure if he was ready for the truth. Josh was his son. That was clear. But what about the others? The truth clawed at him. If Josh was his biological child, and the test suggested incompatibility with the others, what did that mean for Megan, Lily, and Ethan? He spent hours staring at the faces of his children, at their laughter, their scraped knees, their whispered secrets in the dark, and wondered, were they really his? Mark swallowed the lump in his throat and sat Elaine down one evening. "Elaine," he said quietly. The test came back. Josh's mine. Her eyes welled with tears. "And the others?" he asked. She hesitated, her lips trembling. Then came the confession. Years of hidden affairs. Moments of weakness. Men from Elaine's past who might be the fathers of the other children. Mark's world shattered. How could the woman he loved betray him like this? How could the truth be so far from the life they'd built? Elaine's face was a mixture of guilt, fear, and something else. Something deeper. She warned Mark of a man from her past who had recently resurfaced. A man who had contacted her, demanding to be part of his child's life. Mark's gut twisted with unease. Who was this man? What did he want? What would happen when Mark met him? The calm life Mark knew crumbled into chaos. His love for his children remained, but now it was tangled with betrayal and fear. What would you do if your family turned out to be a lie? Would you fight to keep it together or walk away forever? Mark didn't have time to decide, because the man from Elaine's past wasn't just asking for answers. He was coming to demand more. Now it's your turn. If you were Mark, how far would you go to protect your family? Would you confront the painful truth or hide from it? Drop your thoughts below. Like and subscribe if you want to know what happens next, because the secrets Elaine hid will lead to a tragedy no one saw coming. Ready to move on to the next part of the story? Drop a comment, and we'll dive deeper into Elaine's confession, the mysterious man, and the dark path that follows. When Mark sat Elaine down in their quiet living room and revealed the DNA results, the atmosphere shifted instantly. The man who once believed in the foundation of his family now sat trembling with betrayal and confusion. Elaine's tears came quickly, but what followed shook Mark's world even more. "I'm so sorry, Mark," she began, voice breaking under the weight of years kept secret. "There were things, mistakes, I never told you about. Men from before we met, and some during our marriage. I thought it was over, but I was wrong." Mark's heart pounded in his chest. The revelation wasn't just about affairs. It was about the very fabric of his family unraveling. Elaine's eyes grew distant as she named men, names Mark had never heard. Among them, one name stood out: Daniel. Daniel was the father of Ethan, their youngest child. Elaine explained that Daniel had recently re-entered her life. After years of silence, he had contacted her relentlessly, demanding to be acknowledged as Ethan's father, threatening to take custody and stirring up chaos. Mark's gut tightened. Fear and anger battled inside him. Who was this man? What did he want? And why now? Elaine confessed she had hidden Daniel's letters and calls from Mark, hoping to protect the family from the truth and the man's violent temper. But Daniel's presence loomed like a storm cloud threatening to break. Mark refused to be kept in the dark any longer. Determined to confront the situation head-on, he hired Collins, a private investigator known for exposing uncomfortable truths. Within days, Collins returned with unsettling news. Daniel hadn't been lurking quietly. He was back in town, seen near Elaine's workplace and their children's school. Worse, Daniel had a record, a history of violence, including assault charges and aggressive behavior that scared even the police. Mark's protective instincts flared. He confronted Elaine again, demanding the full truth. "Did Daniel threaten you? Hurt you? The kids?" Mark's voice was tight with urgency. Elaine's eyes filled with fear. "No, not physically. But his calls, his letters, they terrified me. I was afraid he'd come after Ethan." Mark knew this was bigger than infidelity or family secrets now. It was a threat to their safety. The tension at home was unbearable. The children, once joyful and carefree, sensed the cracks. Megan stopped sharing stories about school, retreating into silence. Lily, usually full of life, became withdrawn. Ethan, confused and scared, clung to Elaine like a lifeline. Mark barely slept. At work, his focus faltered. The once steady and dependable man grew distracted, haunted by the storm brewing at home. Then came the call that shattered their fragile reality. Daniel's car was found abandoned near the dense woods outside town. The windows were shattered, blood splattered inside. No sign of Daniel. Police launched a search. Mark's mind reeled. Was Daniel hurt? Was he hiding? Or worse? Days stretched on with no answers. The town buzzed with rumors about the Reynolds family. Whispers followed Mark everywhere. His perfect life was unraveling in public view. But then Daniel made contact again. Before he vanished, he sent a chilling letter to Mark. In it, Daniel warned Mark to meet him alone at a secluded cabin deep in the woods. "If you want the truth," the letter said, "you'll come. Otherwise, you'll never know what Elaine's been hiding." Mark knew this was dangerous, but he had no choice. He needed answers. Under the cover of darkness, Mark drove out of town, heart pounding as he approached the isolated cabin. The place was run down, hidden among towering trees, with broken windows and creaking doors. Inside, Daniel waited. His eyes were cold, his demeanor unreadable. Mark's voice was steady, but inside, he was trembling. "What do you want?" Mark asked. Daniel smiled, but it wasn't warm. "I want you to know the truth. About Elaine, about your family, about everything." Daniel slid a thick folder across the table. Mark opened it carefully. Inside were photographs, letters, and documents, proof of more than just affairs. Financial records showed money funneled secretly to men from Elaine's past. Text messages revealed threats, bribes, and cover-ups. And the most shocking, photos of a man Mark didn't recognize, identified by Daniel as the biological father of Megan and Lily. Mark's world spun. How deep did this betrayal run? How much of the life he built was a lie? Daniel leaned forward. "You think you know your family? You don't. And if you don't listen, all this will come out on your terms or mine." Before Mark could respond, Daniel's tone darkened. "There are people who want this buried. People who will stop at nothing to keep the secret." Mark left the cabin that night haunted. He realized the nightmare wasn't over. Someone was pulling strings from the shadows, and Mark was trapped in a web far more dangerous than he imagined. Back home, Mark confronted Elaine again with the evidence Daniel had handed him. Her face crumpled in defeat. "I did what I had to," she whispered. "It was about protecting us, protecting the kids." But Mark's questions grew darker. "What else have you hidden? Who else is involved?" Elaine's silence spoke volumes. Mark felt the weight of every lie, every secret crushing him. He knew the fight ahead would be brutal. But before he could prepare, everything spiraled out of control. One cold morning, the news hit like a bombshell. Daniel was found dead, murdered violently. The police immediately named Mark the prime suspect. His life flipped upside down. The father fighting for his family was now a man fighting for his freedom. Mark's battle shifted from uncovering the truth to proving his innocence. Was he a desperate father pushed too far, or a pawn in a deadly game of deception? The final chapter will reveal the devastating consequences of betrayal and the shocking truth behind Daniel's murder. What do you think? Could Mark really be guilty? Or is someone else pulling the strings? Leave your theories below. Hit like and subscribe if you can't wait to watch the explosive conclusion of this story. Mark Reynolds sat in a sterile interrogation room, the cold light glaring down as detectives grilled him about Daniel's murder. He'd never imagined his life would end here. Accused of killing the man who shattered his family. The evidence was stacked against him. His anger at Daniel, the public fights, his presence near the crime scene. But Mark knew the truth was far more complicated. He was a man desperate for answers, not a killer. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors, friends, even his children watched as Mark faced accusations. Elaine sat silently, her eyes unreadable. The once tight family now fractured, caught in a storm of suspicion and pain. Mark's lawyer fought hard, presenting evidence of Mark's innocence. No fingerprints on a murder weapon, no signs he fled after crime, and a timeline that placed him miles away at the estimated time of death. But the prosecution pushed a powerful narrative that Mark's rage over betrayal drove him to violence. Just as the trial seemed destined to convict, a breakthrough emerged. Collins, the private investigator, had never stopped digging. He uncovered surveillance footage from a gas station near the woods where Daniel's car was found. It showed a mysterious figure, someone known to both Elaine and Daniel, approaching Daniel that night. The man's face was obscured, but Collins matched the clothing to a local man with a grudge against Daniel. Michael, the same man Elaine once had an affair with, also revealed in the folder Daniel had shown Mark. Michael had long harbored resentment toward Daniel over past disputes, fights over money, jealousy, and threats. Collins uncovered messages from Michael threatening Daniel days before the murder. It became clear Michael had both motive and opportunity. Mark's defense team presented this new evidence, and the case against Mark began to crumble. With mounting pressure, Elaine finally broke down. She admitted to hiding more than just affairs. She had been involved in secret dealings with Michael and Daniel, financial arrangements to cover debts and maintain appearances. She confessed that the web of deception was far darker than Mark had imagined. Elaine's betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was tangled in greed, fear, and survival. DNA tests were repeated, this time with full transparency. Josh remained Mark's son. But the truth about Megan, Lily, and Ethan was confirmed. None were biologically Mark's. Mark faced the painful reality that 3 of his children were not his by blood. Yet, his love for them didn't waver. He vowed to be their father, no matter what DNA said. Michael was arrested, charged with Daniel's murder. The evidence was overwhelming. Mark was cleared, but the victory was hollow. His family was forever changed. Mark and Elaine separated, unable to rebuild the trust shattered by years of secrets. Mark took custody of Josh, Megan, Lily, and Ethan, determined to be the father they knew him to be. The town whispered, but Mark focused on healing. Mark learned a painful lesson. Family isn't just blood. It's love, trust, and commitment. And sometimes, the greatest battles are fought within. What would you do if you were Mark? Could you forgive such betrayal? Or walk away? If this story gripped you, comment, and share. Subscribe for more true stories that explore the deepest human emotions and mysteries. Thank you for following this journey.